Had Oberyn Martell triumphed, Tyrion Lannister's life would have been spared, drastically altering his fate and the immediate political landscape of Westeros. Tyrion's escape from execution under such circumstances would lack the dramatic murder of Tywin Lannister that ultimately shatters the Lannister family's dominance. Instead, his acquittal would reinforce the power of trial by combat as an institution in Westerosi justice, lending credence to the idea that the gods actively intervene in such trials. Tyrion would remain a pawn in Tywin's plans, but with diminished standing within his family, as his father's disdain for him would remain unresolved, festering quietly instead of exploding into the open. Oberyn's victory would have profound consequences for Dorne and House Martell. The duel was deeply personal for Oberyn, as it was his chance to avenge his sister, Elia, and her children, who were brutally murdered during Robert's rebellion. By defeating Gregor Clegane, the man responsible for Elia's rape and murder, Oberyn would achieve justice for his family, bringing long-awaited closure to the wounds inflicted during the war. This would elevate his status in Dorne and solidify his position as a hero and champion of his people. The Martells, who had long harbored resentment against the Lannisters and the Iron Throne, would see this as a symbolic victory over their oppressors. Oberyn's triumph could even embolden Dorne to assert its autonomy more aggressively, potentially setting the stage for future confrontations with the crown. With Gregor Clegane dead, Tywin Lannister would lose one of his most fearsome enforcers. The Mountain was more than just a warrior. He was a symbol of Lannister might, embodying their willingness to use brute force to achieve their goals. His absence would weaken Tywin's ability to project power, both militarily and politically. The fear Gregor inspired was a crucial tool in maintaining Lannister dominance, and his death would create a power vacuum in their ranks. Tywin would need to find a replacement for Gregor, but few warriors could match the sheer terror he inspired. This loss would also tarnish Tywin's reputation as an unassailable figure, as it would show that even his most brutal weapon could be defeated. The broader political implications of Oberyn's victory would ripple across Westeros. The trial by combat was watched closely by many, and Oberyn's success would be a public embarrassment for the Lannisters. It would signal that they were not invincible and that their enemies could strike significant blows against them. This could embolden other houses to challenge Lannister authority, particularly those with grievances against the crown. The Tyrells, already maneuvering for power through Margaery's marriage to Tommen, might see this as an opportunity to press their advantage further. Other houses, such as the Tullis and the Starks, who had suffered under Lannister rule, might also find renewed hope in resistance. For Dorne, Oberyn's victory would be a rallying cry. The Martells had long been isolated from the rest of the Seven Kingdoms, and their grievances against the crown had simmered for decades. With Oberyn's triumph, Dorne could assert itself more confidently on the national stage, demanding greater respect and recognition. Prince Oberyn Martell, who had been playing a cautious and measured game of politics, might feel emboldened to act more decisively. The victory would also strengthen Doran's hand in his secret plans to use Daenerys Targaryen and her dragons to overthrow the Lannisters. With Oberyn's reputation elevated, Dorne would be in a stronger position to negotiate alliances and build its influence. Oberyn's victory would also have a personal impact on his character and his legacy. The Red Viper's charismatic and flamboyant nature would make his triumph a legendary tale, celebrated across the Seven Kingdoms. However, this could also inflate his ego and make him a larger target for enemies who might seek to undermine him. While Oberyn was a skilled warrior and a cunning politician, his impulsive nature and penchant for taking risks could lead to unforeseen consequences. Victory might embolden him to take even greater risks in pursuit of his goals, potentially leading him into conflicts that could prove his undoing. The impact on the Lannister family dynamics would be significant. Tywin's plans for his family were built on a foundation of fear and control, and Oberyn's victory would weaken his grip on both. Tyrion's survival would undermine Tywin's authority, as it would show that even his most carefully laid plans could be thwarted. Jaime, who had already begun to question his father's methods and values, might find himself further alienated from Tywin. Cersei, who despised Tyrion and saw him as a threat to her children's safety, would be furious at this turn of events, further straining the already tense relationships within the family. The question of justice, a recurring theme in A Song of Ice and Fire, would take on new dimensions in the wake of Oberyn's victory. The duel was not just a fight between two warriors. It was a symbolic battle over the concept of justice itself. Oberyn fought not only for his sister but for all those who had suffered under the Lannisters' brutal rule. His victory would be seen as a triumph for the oppressed and a vindication of their grievances. However, it would also raise questions about the nature of justice in a world where trial by combat determines guilt or innocence. While Oberyn's victory would satisfy his personal quest for revenge, it would not address the systemic issues that allowed such atrocities to occur in the first place. The ripple effects of Oberyn's victory would extend beyond Westeros. Across the Narrow Sea, Daenerys Targaryen was gathering her strength, and news of a significant blow against the Lannisters might influence her plans. The Martells, who had a history of alliance with House Targaryen, could see this as an opportunity to renew their ties with Daenerys and support her claim to the Iron Throne. Oberyn's victory could serve as a rallying point for those who opposed the Lannisters and sought to restore the Targaryens to power. This could accelerate the eventual clash between Daenerys and the forces of Westeros, bringing the continent closer to the brink of a larger conflict. On a personal level, Oberyn's victory would also alter the course of his life and the lives of those around him. For Ellaria Sand, Oberyn's paramour, his survival would mean the continuation of their passionate and unconventional relationship. For the Sand Snakes, Oberyn's daughters, their father's triumph would be a source of pride and inspiration, shaping their ambitions and their role in Dorne's future. Oberyn's victory would also strengthen his bond with his brother, Prince Doran, as it would validate the Martells' long-standing quest for justice. In the larger context of the series, Oberyn's victory would serve as a reminder that even in a world as brutal and unforgiving as Westeros, moments of justice and triumph are possible. It would show that individuals can make a difference, even against seemingly insurmountable odds. However, it would also underscore the fragility of such victories, as they often come at great cost and set the stage for new challenges and conflicts. This alternate outcome, where Oberyn Martell kills Gregor Clegane, would be a turning point in the story, reshaping the political and personal dynamics of Westeros. It would be a victory for justice and vengeance, but one that carries its own set of complications and consequences. The world of A Song of Ice and Fire is one where every action has far-reaching implications, and Oberyn's triumph would be no exception. As Oberyn Martell's spear pierced Gregor Clegane's chest and the mountain let out his last, gurgling breaths, the world around the arena seemed to pause. Tyrion Lannister, who had watched the trial with his life hanging in the balance, would have felt an overwhelming wave of relief. The Red Viper's victory would immediately secure Tyrion's freedom, overturning Cersei's ploy to rid herself of her hated brother. However, this victory would not come without severe repercussions for the Lannisters, Dorne, and the fragile balance of power in Westeros. For Tyrion, the implications of Oberyn's success would be transformative. No longer marked for execution, Tyrion would regain a degree of safety, but his position at King's Landing would remain precarious. His acquittal would not erase the animosity his sister Cersei bore him, nor would it resolve his deep-seated resentment toward his father. Tyrion's survival would also complicate Tywin's plans, forcing the Lannister patriarch to face the ongoing tension between his family's unity and the individual ambitions of its members. While Tyrion would not commit patricide in this alternate timeline, the underlying dysfunction of the Lannister family would persist, creating fertile ground for future conflicts. The victory would serve as a defining moment for Oberyn Martell, cementing his status as a champion of justice and revenge. Killing Gregor Clegane would fulfill a promise he had made to his sister Elaya's memory and the people of Dorne, vindicating decades of simmering resentment toward the Lannisters. For Oberyn, the victory would be deeply personal, but its ripple effects would reach far beyond him. House Martell, long isolated from the politics of the Seven Kingdoms, would gain a significant boost in both reputation and leverage. The duel's outcome would showcase Dorne's ability to challenge the might of the crown, raising its profile among the other great houses. Prince Doran Martell, Oberyn's elder brother, would likely see this as an opportunity to further Dorne's interests. Unlike Oberyn, who was passionate and impulsive, Doran was a cautious and strategic leader. With Gregor Clegane dead and Tyrion's freedom assured, Dorne could use this victory as a bargaining chip in future negotiations with the Iron Throne. He might push for greater autonomy for Dorne or seek reparations for the injustices committed during Robert's rebellion. Doran's secret plans to ally with Daenerys Targaryen could also gain momentum, as Oberyn's triumph would lend credence to Dorne's ability to stand against the Lannisters and their allies. For the Lannisters, Oberyn's victory would be a devastating blow. Gregor Clegane's death would rob them of one of their most fearsome enforcers, a man whose reputation for brutality had been instrumental in maintaining their dominance. Tyrion Lannister, a man who valued control above all else, would face the challenge of rebuilding his family's image in the wake of this public humiliation. The Mountain's death would also deepen the divide between the Lannisters and Dorne, as it would highlight the ongoing tensions between these two powerful factions. Cersei, in particular, would be enraged by Oberyn's success. Her hatred for Tyrion, whom she blamed for the death of her mother and other misfortunes, would only grow. She would likely turn her wrath toward other avenues of power, seeking ways to reassert control and exact revenge against those she saw as threats to her family. Cersei's increasingly erratic behavior could lead to further instability within the Lannister regime, as her paranoia and impulsiveness undermined the careful plans laid by her father. The political landscape of Westeros would shift in response to Oberyn's victory. Houses that had suffered under Lannister rule, such as the Starks and Tullis, would see this as a sign that the Lannisters were not invincible. While Oberyn's duel was a personal affair, its outcome would have symbolic significance, inspiring those who sought to challenge the crown's authority. The Tyrells, who were already maneuvering for greater influence through their alliance with the Lannisters, might use this opportunity to press their advantage. Other houses, such as the Baratheons of Storm's End and Dragonstone, might also see this as a moment to assert their claims. The duel's outcome would resonate beyond Westeros, particularly in Essos. Daenerys Targaryen, who was gathering strength in her quest to reclaim the Iron Throne, would hear of the Mountain's death and the public embarrassment it caused the Lannisters. Dorne's long-standing ties to House Targaryen would make Oberyn's victory a potential rallying point for those who supported Daenerys' claim. The Martells could use this moment to forge stronger alliances with Daenerys, bolstering her campaign with Dorne's resources and military support. This alignment could accelerate the eventual clash between Daenerys' forces and the Lannister-backed regime in Westeros. The broader theme of justice would also be central to the consequences of Oberyn's victory. In killing Gregor Clegane, Oberyn would achieve a form of poetic justice for his sister Elia and her children, whose brutal deaths had gone unpunished for years. However, the duel's outcome would also raise questions about the nature of justice in a world dominated by power and violence. Trial by combat, while seen as a divine method of determining guilt, would continue to be a deeply flawed system, as it hinged on the strength and skill of the combatants rather than the merits of the case. While Oberyn's success would bring closure to his personal quest for vengeance, it would not address the larger systemic injustices that allowed such atrocities to occur. Oberyn's personal legacy would be significantly shaped by this victory. His reputation as a warrior and champion of justice would make him a legend in his own time, celebrated across Dorne and beyond. However, his triumph would also bring new challenges and risks. Oberyn's impulsive nature and penchant for taking bold risks could lead him into further conflicts, particularly as his victory would make him a target for those who sought to undermine Dorne's rising influence. While Oberyn was a skilled diplomat and fighter, his success could embolden him to take even greater risks, potentially leading to unintended consequences. The effects of Oberyn's victory on his family would also be profound. For Ellaria Sand, Oberyn's paramour, his survival would mean the continuation of their passionate and unconventional relationship. The Sand Snakes, Oberyn's daughters, would see their father's triumph as a source of inspiration and pride, shaping their ambitions and their role in Dorne's future. Oberyn's victory would also strengthen his bond with Dorne, as it would validate the Martells' long-standing quest for justice and bolster their position within the Seven Kingdoms. In the end, Oberyn Martell's victory over Gregor Clegane would represent a turning point in the story of Westeros. It would bring justice to a family that had long been wronged, while also altering the political and personal dynamics of the realm. The triumph would be a moment of catharsis and celebration for many, but it would also carry its own set of complications and consequences. In the world of A Song of Ice and Fire, every victory is fraught with risk, and Oberyn's success would be no exception.